several verses that people take out of context. And they change it and they say, why does the Quran say kill all the Jews and Christians wherever you find them? Have you heard about this? Yeah. And usually when they come with that, they're twisting the verses to make it say something it didn't say. Because we don't have any order in the Quran to kill Jews and Christians. It just doesn't say that. What we have is a verse, and not just one, there's a couple verses about the subject, but it's clear what it's talking about. And the word that's being used is qital. And qital is a broad word. Like when you say the word fight, for instance. Fight what? I might be fighting back an attack. I might be fighting something in my mind. I might be fighting with a person. I might, because fight is a general word. Hit is a general word. Like hit the point, or hit something, or hit you with an idea. So these are general terms. So you have to know specifically what did it mean. The word qital, which is used in those verses, actually is dealing with something called combat. In English, combat. And what it starts out in the first time the first reference comes is in response to some questions that were being asked to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They asked, who asked him was his companions. Because they had, you got questions, you finally get a chance to ask Sheikh a question, you're excited, and you got a question. Just what we're doing tonight. And they were asking him some questions. First question they asked about, what about the new moons? Can you tell us, does this mean anything to us in our religion, or is it nothing? Because some people used to worship the moon. So they were asking. And look how the verse comes, 189 in Surah Baqarah, and it says, Yasalunaka, which means what? They're asking you about the hilal, the new moons. And this is what you say, because Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ what to say. These are to denote the months. So you know when is the time for Hajj and so on. Because this is exactly how we know when we begin Hajj. It's a month called Dhul Hijjah. Also, it helps us to know when to start Ramadan, which is the month for fasting. And so the months for the Muslims are according to the lunar or the moon calendar. But we don't worship the moon. We don't have anything to do with worshiping anything but Allah. But this is making it clear. So anybody understand a verse, they understand that. The next thing in the verse it asks about, what if we go through the back door of our house? Is this more righteous for us? Are we more pious? Are we more pious by going through the back door of the house? And Allah answered this one, and He's saying, no, it's not. This is not piety. Piety is that you have taqwa for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's our subject tonight. We've been talking about taqwa. And what is taqwa? Put a barrier between you and Allah's punishment by obeying Him, repenting to Him, and being a good Muslim. Okay? And then it continues to the next verse, 190, and it says, now, giving them the permission to do what they couldn't do for 13 years, which was to engage in combat. Now, usually the translation says fight, but it is a fight which is combat. It's not a fight where they're going to like wrestling or boxing. No, it's a fight with swords. And it was an order for them, now you can engage in combat against them if they engage in combat against you. Because what had happened for several times, they had gone all the way from Medina to Mecca. Now if you walked all the way from Modesto to Los Angeles, walking, and you got there and you wanted to go to Disneyland, and when you got there they said, we're not going to let you in, you got to go back. Would you be happy? No. And this is more important because it's not Disneyland. This is something to fulfill obligation, which is the Holy Land pilgrimage for the Muslims. Similar to like Christians used to do this when they used to go to the Holy Land, this is the same for us to go and make pilgrimage. But they wouldn't let them in, and they promised, but come back again another year, okay, blah, blah, blah. And when they go back, they did it again. We're not going to let you in. And they couldn't fight them. That was not permissible. But now they got the permission. If they start a fight with you, then you can fight them. But if they stop, you have to stop. So Allah put a limit. Before, Arabs never had any limit. Never. They had a 40-year war over a camel race where they killed each other and killed each other and killed each other. It was horrible. So Allah didn't need to tell Arabs how to engage in combat. Arabs are born knowing how to fight. In fact, I think some are born with a rock in their hand. I don't know. Anyway. But this was a big test. We were talking about tests. A big test for the Muslims was not to fight for 13 years while they watched their own relatives, who were called mushrikeen, pagans, idolaters, those who set up partners with Allah in worship, those bad people who had driven them out of their homes, stolen their property, abused them, cursed them, even raped their women, even beat them up, even killed them. They did all of these things to the Muslims. Muslims couldn't fight back. They wanted to, but the Prophet ﷺ would not let them, because we don't have any orders from Allah to do it. So now comes the verse. Where? In Medina. To do what? Combat them if they combat you. But if they stop, you have to stop. Allah does not like the transgressors. And you become a transgressor when somebody is not wanting to fight, but you want to fight. So clearly, this was spelling out something important. Then it continues. Next verse, 191. It says, and now the word qital is in the imperative form of the verb, to order you to kill them in combat. I'm putting in combat in parentheses because it belongs there. Kill them in combat, because obviously they're killing you in combat, where they're killing you, and turn them out from where they turned you out. This could only be in reference to what? To the people of Mecca, who were mushrikeen, who had killed them, murdered them, slaughtered them, driven them out, put sanctions against them, tried to starve them to death for 2 years in the desert. Go back to your land. You can claim what's belonging to you now. You can go back, you can go and do your Hajj, you can do Umrah, and this is permission from Allah. But again, the warning comes from Allah. But if they stop, you have to stop. And Allah continues, and He's going to keep reading the verses, and you see how Allah continues and says, and don't do this combat anywhere around the holy place, the sanctuary, around the Kaaba or the Haram. Don't do that, unless they do it first. But again, if they stop, you have to stop. And then Allah is telling that He is the one. Allah is the one who is merciful. Allah is the one who's in control here. So you just take it easy. Allah is saying this. It's amazing, huh? Now go to chapter 9, Surah At-Tawbah, and I think it's like verse maybe 30, read 34, 35, and 36, and you'll see the context is the same. It starts again talking about Hajj, talking about when Muslims go for the Hajj, and then again talking about qital in combat. So it's essentially the same thing. Translators have used the word jihad because they're translating from the students of Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah was one of the greatest of the scholars of his time, and also he was well known for being involved in jihad and fighting a lot against the mushrikeen who came from the Mongols. Yes? How am I doing? Pretty close? Yeah. Okay. So, when his students gave the meaning to the verses, they started the same way the Sheikh did, talking about jihad, but the word jihad is not in the verses. It's not in the verses. You know Arabic, you know it's not there. But the meaning is there, and that's why we talk about jihad in general when we talk about these verses. But I want to be sure you know the difference between what is jihad and what is qital. Qital in these verses is combat. Jihad is a wider version, a wider meaning than just this. Because we experience different kinds of jihad. There are many types of jihad. So I want to be sure you have this in mind. Now, I'm going to give an ad. I have to put in a commercial break. It's coming up right here. Go to IslamAlways.com and you can find many subjects. But if you want to research something, we got a brand new website. You want to get excited? You can go to our newest website. We just finished things today by moving it to a new server. Checked it out again today. I love it. Go there. It's called Search for Islam. Huh? Search for Islam. Sounds like the name of a Muslim soap opera, right? Huh? Searchforislam.com. Go there and type in the word that you want to know.